Good day, everyone. So we are the last group to report about new literacy for this subject, building and enhancing new literacies across the curriculum. But before we proceed to discussing the new literacy, I want you first to think about these questions. How familiar are you with the interconnected relationship between living organisms and their environment? And how much do you know about the impact of human activities on the ecosystem? So you can pause the video so that you can think about these questions. Okay, so understanding the way living things connect with their surroundings is like unraveling a fascinating puzzle. It involves exploring how animals, plants, and their environments work together. Now, when it comes to the impact of what we humans do on nature, it is like realizing that our actions can have big effects on the homes and the lives of many creatures. So in this video, let's journey together into this exploration of the interconnected web of life, why it is crucial to be aware of our influence on ecosystem, and the importance of ecological literacy in understanding and addressing these impacts. And yes, you heard it right, that in this video, we are going to learn about the concept of ecological literacy. So what is ecological literacy? Ecological literacy, it is a term first used by American educator David W. Orr and physicist Fritjof Capra in 1990s to introduce into educational practice the value and well-being of the earth and its ecosystems. So the goal of David and Fritjof of introducing ecological literacy to educational practice is to emphasize the value of well-being of the earth and its ecosystems. By incorporating ecoliteracy, the aim is to equip individuals with a deeper understanding of ecological systems, fostering a sense of responsibility and stewardship toward the environment. So ultimately, the goal is to cultivate a generation that is aware of the interconnectedness of all living things and is empowered to make informed decisions that contribute to the sustainability of our planet. So that is the goal of introducing the ecological literacy into educational practice according to David and Fritjof. So now, ecological literacy, it is also a way of thinking about the world in terms of its interdependent natural and human systems, including a consideration of the consequences of human actions and interactions within the natural context. So for you to be able to understand ecological literacy, let us break down this ecological literacy into key parts: the ecological and the literacy. So when we talk about ecological, this term refers to the study of the relationship between living organisms and their environment. And it involves understanding how different species interact with each other and their surroundings, forming complex system called ecosystem. While literacy, in this context, goes beyond reading and writing. Ecological literacy means having a deep understanding of ecological concepts, the impact of human activities on the environment, and the ability to make informed decisions that consider the well-being of the ecosystems. So when we talk about ecological literacy, we're essentially discussing the knowledge and awareness needed to comprehend and navigate the intricate connection between living things and their habitats. So it is about being literate and well versed in the language of nature. So that is ecological literacy. So in short, ecological literacy is the ability to understand the natural system that is related to our life. So that is ecological literacy. And this ecological literacy provides students with the information and skills needed to handle complex and urgent environmental concerns in an integrated way, as well as to help shape a sustainable society that does not degrade the ecosystems on which it is dependent. So this ecological literacy equips students to address pressing environmental issues holistically and empowers them to contribute to building a sustainable society that respects and preserves the ecosystems crucial for our well-being. So that is how important ecological literacy is, especially for us students. So now, let us proceed to the core aspects of ecological literacy. So these core aspects of ecological literacy outline key concepts essential for understanding our relationship with the environments. So we will talk about 5 concepts or core aspects of ecological literacy to understand our relationship with the environment. So the first one is the principles of living systems. So what is this all about? Living systems are open, self-organizing systems that have the special characteristic of life and that interact with their environment through information and material energy exchanges. So try to look at or observe your surroundings. So everything you see that has life is considered to us living systems. So for us to comprehend these principles of living systems, let us break down its certain features. So those are open and self-organizing systems. It has a special characteristic of life, interactions with the environment, and the examples of living systems. So let us first know what is this open and self-organizing system, a living system, all about. So these open and self-organizing living systems are flexible and adaptive. So this is what best describes open and self-organizing living systems. Flexible and adaptive. They can interact with their surroundings, taking in what they need, and they have the ability to internally organize and adjust without a central command responding to changing conditions. So these open and self-organizing living systems, like for example, let's give an example sa human interaction. So this open and self-organizing, this occurs sa human interaction when human tend to communicate and collaborate with their fellow being. Like for example, they are going to with communicate or collaborate with another humans. So during that interaction, so during that communication and collaboration, so there is interaction. And their interaction or naabay ka ng changing of information, ideas, thoughts, or even the resources with the environment. So that is the open living system. So maka-interact sila sa other humans. And then this self-organizing, it happens sa organization or a group of people, not just the people but also the animals. So anita sa group of people, like for example sa organization or sa workplace. So ang kaning self-organizing, like for example, ang workplace kay they encounter challenges. So sa workplace, ang challenges nga ilang na encounter, they are going to make a solution for these challenges, pero ang ilang solution ana is sila ra ang mag-formulate, sila ra ang magbuhat og solution. Like for example, they will play their each individual rules, like kanang magtinabangay through collaboration, magtinabangay sila to solve that existing problem or existing issue, and without external control. Like sa ilang inside their organization is kung kinsa to mga members sa organization is sila ra jud ang mag-solve ato nga existing challenges or problems sa organization. So not just the human, not just the kanang group of people, but also sa kanang mga group of animals. Like for example, the ant colony, di ba? Ang mga ants kay they are open living systems sad kay we're able to see them while working man. So sila kung isa, like for example na ay daghan trabahoon sa ilahang grupo, like sa ilang group sa ants naslay daghan need nga i-accomplish. So ang kaning self-organizing is like for example mag-need sila og daghan worker. So ang kaning self-organizing is mangita sila og lain nga mga ants or other mga workers, and then ang buhaton nila is sila baron is mag-change ba sila og rules like kanang sa panguha og food, sa pag-gather og food, lahi ang mag-gather, lahi ang mag-carry sa food. So the point here is that like self-organizing ba, like anang they don't need external control or command, kay sila mismo as a team, kay they are collaborating, they are helping with each other. So that is open and self-organizing. And the next one is the special characteristics of life. So these living systems possess qualities that define life, such as growth, reproduction, and response to stimuli. Like for example, the plants growing, producing seeds, and reacting to sunlight are expressions of life's special characteristics. So not just the plant growing, kay special characteristic of life. So, di ba, ang characteristics of life or it defines life, like kanang sa pag-grow. So, not just the plants or kanang mga trees, like gikan sa seeds, then reacting to sunlight, and then hanto ni dako sila, and then they can now make their own food. Not just the plants, pero the animals and the humans also. Kay gikan sa gianak ta sa ato ang parents, sa atong mama, and hantud gikan sa dependent pa ta sa atong parents until nidako na ta, and we become independent. So that is how life happens or occurs in humans. And sa animals sad gikan sa gipanganak or gipangitlog until nga nidako, and then maka independent na sad sila, maka-gather na sila og ilang own foods. So that is the special characteristics of life. So ang living systems has special characteristics of life. So the next one is the interaction with environment. So living systems exchange information and energy with their surroundings. So like for example, animals in the forest interacting with the plants for foods, and plants benefiting from the animal activities such as like for example, fertilizer coming from the animal waste, creating a balanced environment. Kay ang animals, they get their food from the plants, and ang plants kay they also use the fertilizer, or they also need the fertilizer para sa ilahang growth. So that is kanang interaction with the environment, not just the animals and the plants, but also the animals and the humans. Kay we humans use animals or need animals para sa ato ang a source of income, and animals sad need humans kay we are the one who will take care of the animals. So vice versa ang so there is an interaction, not just the animals and the humans, but ang humans sa plants, kay we need plants or crops for our basic needs, our consumption, and plants need us kay kita mo'y mag-atiman sa ilaha. So there is an interaction with the environment. So interaction with environment sa mga living systems. And the last one is the examples of living systems. So it is under the principles of living systems gyapon ang mga examples. So what are these examples? So examples of living systems include the human body or a forest or a river, as well as human created organizations such as communities or schools. So the examples of living systems includes human body, forest, river, or as well as human created organization. So this human body in a living system, it is a living system with organs and cells working together to maintain life. And next is the forest. A forest is a living system where trees, animals, and microorganisms interact to create a complex system called ecosystem. And The river, it is a living system constantly flowing and supporting various forms of life. Why it supports various of life? Kay river is a water and water is life, di ba? So, and as well as human created organization. So what is this human created organization means? And this human created organization is refers to the entities and structure of people intentionally established and organized for various purposes, such as the communities, or just like the communities and the schools. So, connecting students to natural systems provides them with a deep sense of place and understanding of their local environment. So, connecting students to natural systems, like exploring a local park or studying a river ecosystem, help them grasp these principles and gain a deeper understanding of how living systems function in their environment. So that is the principles of living system. So the next one is designed inspired by nature. So what is this all about? Beyond understanding natural systems, ecological literacy is about applying this understanding to redesign of organizations, communities, businesses, and societies to align with ecological principles. So this designed inspired by nature means more than just understanding how natural system works. It is about using that knowledge to change how we organize and build things like communities and businesses. And an example of applying ecological literacy to redesign a system could be a company adapting a sustainable practices in its operation, supply chain, and product design. So this might involve minimizing waste, using renewable resources, and considering the environmental impact of the entire production process. And this shift aligns with ecological principles, promoting a more sustainable and environmentally friendly business model. So that is how a business can redesign their actions or how they organize their business to help maintain or promote a more sustainable and environmentally friendly business model. And this ecological literacy encourages redesigning our way of life to match the efficient and sustainable patterns found in nature. And according to David Orr, the goal of ecological design is to transform how humans act in the world to provide food, shelter, energy, materials, and seek their livelihood. So, according to David Orr, ecological design aims to change how we as humans interact with the world. And this information involves rethinking how we produce and obtain essential things like food, shelter, energy, and materials, or as well as how we pursue our livelihoods. So this design inspired by nature, it is about transforming our actions to be more in tune with nature, considering the limits of the earth and its systems. And this ecological literacy in this context asked questions about what people know and how they should learn it, taking into account the earth limits. And essentially, it is about learning to live and work in a way that respects and works with the environment, ensuring a sustainable and balanced future. So, in everything that we plan to do, we should consider its impact to our environment. So, that is the essence of design inspired by nature. So, the next one is the system thinking. So, what is this system thinking talks about? Ecological literacy is also guided by an understanding of systems or systems thinking, sometimes called holistic or relational thinking. And ecological literacy involves applying a way of thinking that emphasizes relationships, connectedness, and context. So, system thinking in ecological literacy means looking at the big picture and understanding how everything is connected. So, kind of like putting puzzle pieces together. And it is also called holistic or relational thinking because it focuses on the relationships and connections between different parts of a systems. For example, we can only understand a songbird by exploring both its own characteristics as well as its interactions with the watershed where it lives. Systems operate on multiple scales, with systems nested within systems. A watershed is a vibrant interplay among species from the tree of the bacteria in the soil. So, for example, to understand a bird in a forest, you also think about its connections to the trees, insects, and even the water in the area. And systems thinking helps us see how everything works together, like a team in nature and in the world around us. And this system thinking is very crucial because it helps us understand how different things like nature, people, and money depend on each other. So when we use system thinking, we can see the bigger picture and find solutions that consider all the connections. And people who understand this way of thinking can see patterns instead of just individual pieces. And they can create communities that work well together because they understand how everything is interrelated. So, looking at the big picture and understanding how everything is connected is the essence of system thinking in ecological literacy. So, that is system thinking. The fourth one is ecological paradigm and the transition to sustainability. So, what is this all about? Ecological literacy is partly aimed at triggering large-scale social change in how humans live on the planet. As Fritjof Capra notes, in the coming decades, the survival of humanity will depend on our ecological literacy, our ability to understand the basic principles of ecology and to live accordingly. So that is according to the note of Fritjof Capra. So ecological paradigm and the transition to sustainability means that learning about how nature works can help us change how we live together on Earth. And Fritjof Capra, a thinker, says that in the next years, our ability to survive as people depends on our understanding of how nature works and adjusting our lives to fit in with it. So, ecological literacy is just like a guide for big changes in how we do things, ensuring we live in a way that keeps our planet healthy and makes sure we can continue living here. And this shift to an ecological paradigm is part of a transition to sustainability, meeting human well-being while substantially reducing poverty and conserving the planet's life support system. And sustainability is not just about the basic needs and human survival, because sustainability is the process to create a vibrant society. So, moving to an ecological paradigm means changing the way we think about our life or our lives in our planet. And this change is part of a larger shift towards sustainability. And this sustainability is about making sure that people have what they need to live well while also taking care of the earth's system that keep us alive. And this sustainability is not just about meeting basic needs, as it's about creating a lively and thriving society. So when we talk about the transition or a transition to sustainability, it's like moving to a way of living that balances what people need with taking care of the environment for the long run or for the long term. So that is ecological paradigm and the transition to sustainability. And the last but not the least is the collaboration, community building, and citizenship ecological literacy. So it is about emphasizing collaboration and partnerships as a hallmark of living systems and life. The ability to associate, create links, draw on collective distributed intelligence of many individuals is part of eco-literacy. Ultimately, sustainability is a community practice. So, collaboration, community building, and citizenship in ecological literacy means working together and building strong communities like a team. It is about emphasizing that in nature and in our lives, things work better when we help each other. And that is very true. Being ecologically literate means knowing how to connect with others, use everyone's smarts, and work as a community. And this teamwork is crucial for sustainability, which means making sure we all do things that keep our community or earth healthy and happy in the long run. So, ecological literacy teaches us that working together is a key part of taking care of our planet. So, this ecological literacy equips us not just the awareness or the understanding of our relationship or the relationship of living systems with the environment, and not just teaches us how to take care of our planet, but also teaches us to work together and build strong communities. So that is the importance of ecological literacy in our whole being. And ecologically literate students are also community builders and active citizens. Eco-literacy knowledge empowers students to help create a better society and make a difference. So practicing ecological literacy means being like a good teammate and citizen. Ecological literate students not only understand nature but also know how to build strong communities and take part in making things better. And with ecoliteracy knowledge, students have the power to contribute to creating a nicer world. Studies have shown that combining civic engagement and ecological literacy creates positive change. Leaders willing to participate as citizens and engage in creating solutions. So research shows that when people combine caring for the environment with being active citizens or engaging in community activities, they become positive leaders who work together to find solutions and make positive changes in society. So that is the collaboration, community building, and citizenship in ecological literacy. So, those are the 5 core aspects of ecological literacy. And those 5 core aspects of ecological literacy are vital for understanding and living in harmony with our environment. Recognizing the principles of living systems helps us appreciate the interconnectedness of life. And design inspired by nature encourages sustainable practices in how we build and organize societies, and system thinking allows us to see the big picture, finding connections in complex systems. And embracing an ecological paradigm promotes a large-scale changes for a sustainable future. And lastly, collaboration, community building, and citizenship stress the importance of working together to create a positive change and a better society. And together, these aspects guides us towards a more informed and sustainable way of living on earth. And I think that ends my report. Thank you for listening.
So now let's proceed to characterizing an ecoliterate person. So what do we mean by characterizing? So characterizing is to describe someone in a certain way. So in this section, we will describe an ecoliterate person. So according to Dr. Tom Pook of 2002 of Lakehead University, characterized an ecologically literate person of the 21st century as the responsible, lifelong learner who strives to improve the human condition and the environment within the context of self, human groups, the biosphere, and the ecosphere. So, according to Dr. Tom, he describes an ecoliterate person who takes responsibility for their actions, seeks continuous lifelong learner throughout their life, and aims to contribute positively to the well-being of themselves, human groups, the biosphere, and the ecosphere. So that's how Dr. Tom describe or characterize an ecologically literate person of the 21st century. So an ecologically literate person, in order to achieve the aforementioned ultimate goal, should become first an inquirer. So, an inquirer who actively secures the basic skills and knowledge in order to carry out ecological responsibilities. This also enables her to reach her own potential and place in the physical and natural environment. So, the term inquirer is to describe an individual who is curious and eager to explore. So, in the context of ecological responsibilities, this person actively seeks to understand the intricacies of the environment, ecosystems, and the interdependence of living organisms. So, by securing basic skills and knowledge, the inquirer equips herself or himself with the tools to make informed decisions regarding the environmental conservation and sustainability. So this might involve learning about ecological systems, biodiversity, climate change, and the impact of human activities on the environment. So it more extends to practical action. So as an inquirer, you might engage yourself and sustainable practices, promote conservation efforts, and advocate for environmentally friendly policies. So, for example, like tree planting, proper waste segregation, and other seminar or workshops that works for the environment. So, the aim of an inquiry not only the personal growth but also to contribute positively to the well-being of the planet and the environment. So, that's all about the inquirers. So, the next one is a reflective learner, so who understands the value and limitations of human knowledge, so the power and limitations of the natural world, the role of intuition in real life pursuits, and the role of itself as it is manifested in one's personal narrative. So a reflective learner possesses a keen awareness of both the significance and constraints inherent in human knowledge. So as a reflective learner, they will acknowledge or you will acknowledge the capabilities and limitations of the natural world, recognizing its intricacies. So, moreover, individuals appreciate the role of intuition in practical endeavors. So, understanding its impact on decision making and problem solving in real life situations. So, being reflective means thinking about things and understanding them. So imagine we realize that sometimes we know a lot, but there are still things we don't know, and that's totally okay. And we might relate this idea that nature is powerful, but also it has its limits. So, like how they can control the weather. So, that's one of the examples of the limitations of nature. So, as a reflective learner, you must understand the capabilities and limitations of the natural world. So that's all about the reflective learners. So the next one is the intelligently self-directed, so who engages in self-appraisal, sets new learning objectives, carries out these plans in a flexible, inquiry-directed manner, and reflects on the whole process. So when we say self-appraisal, it is an act or instance of evaluating one's own worth, significance, or status. So, as an intelligently self-directed individual, you might evaluate the worth or significance of the interconnectedness of the ecological systems and recognizing the impact of human activities on the environment and adapting the sustainable practices. So, being ecologically literate could mean you can set your learning objectives that is related to environmental awareness or developing plans to reduce personal ecological footprint and engaging in inquiry-based exploration of sustainable practices. So reflecting on the ecological impact of one's actions becomes integral to the self-appraisal process. So the connection lies in aligning the self-directed learning behavior. So with a broader understanding and consideration of ecological principles, leading to a more informed and responsible approach to the environmental issues. So that is more about the intelligently self-directed. So the next one is morally responsible. So, morally responsible who governs actions with precepts or responsibility, seeking justice and equality for all that ISCOF maintain harmonious relationships. So, ecologically responsible who embodies ecological ideals on daily life, and so being morally responsible in ecoliteracy, it involves making decisions and taking actions that consider the ethical implications of one's impact on the environment. So, those who govern actions with the precepts of responsibility, seeking justice and equality, and ecoliteracy. So, those individuals or groups who prioritize sustainable practices, advocate for environmental justice, and strive for equality in access to resources and benefits of a healthy environment for all. So, this might include the individuals, the organizations, or governments working towards a more ecologically responsible and equitable society. So, individuals who embody ecological ideas in daily life are those who adopt sustainable practices and strive to minimize their environmental impact. So, this can include actions such as reducing waste, conserving energy, supporting eco friendly products, practicing mindful consumption, and promoting the biodiversity. So, that is all about a morally responsible. You have a kind of involved decision making and taking actions that considered an ethical implications regarding the kind of impact on the environment. So the next one is self-transcendence. So self-transcendence who moves beyond the limitations of personal ego by identifying with human groups, past and future, or flora and fauna ecosphere that transcend the individual life and scope and time. So self-transcendent means going beyond your own self, ego, or self-centered boundaries. So it happens when you connect with various things like human groups from different times and also with a wider world of plants, animals, and the environment. So by doing this, learners expand their understanding of themselves beyond just their individual lives. So embracing a bigger picture and overcoming the limits of time. So, self transcendence in nature could involve feeling a deep connection with the environment, appreciating the beauty of landscapes, and recognizing one's role in the broader ecosystem. So, for example, you might practicing your self-transcendence in nature and you might find joy in protecting the wildlife habitats, participating in conservation efforts and understanding how their actions or your actions impact the delicate balance of the natural world. So it means self-transcendence is you involve more on yourselves in nature. So you have a kind of deeper connections in the environment or ecosystems where they engage yourselves in different ways that can help in the natural world. So that is more about the self transcendence. That's all about the characterizing and ecoliterate person. So now let's proceed to the difference of environmental literacy, ecological literacy, and ecoliteracy. So how they differ to each other. So I know that you are very familiar with these terms, but we will dig deeper og unsa jud kalahian ani nilang tulo. So of course, the similarities between these three is they are more involved in engaging or understanding about the nature. So ang karon atong itakol ang ilahang differences. So when we talk about environmental literacy, it involves the knowledge and understanding of the environment, ecosystems, and the impact of human activities on nature. So it emphasizes awareness of environmental issues, the sustainable practices, and the ability to make informed decisions to promote the ecological well-being. So for example of environmental literacy is understanding the importance of recycling, conserving energy, and reducing waste to minimize one's carbon footprint. So those are examples of environmental literacy in order for you to understand more. So when we say eco-literacy, it extends beyond the knowledge, emphasizing a deep understanding of ecological systems and the interconnectedness of living things. So it goes beyond the environmental issues. So it encompasses a holistic view of ecosystems and fosters a sense of responsibility with the nature or the environment. So for example, aning ecoliteracy is recognizing or understanding og unsa ka importante how planting native trees not only benefits the local environment but also supports the biodiversity and contributes to the overall health of the planet. So by understanding them, so kaingon ta nga those are engaged in eco-literacy. So unsa man dining ecological literacy? So when we say ecological literacy, it delves into the scientific understanding of ecological principles. So more on understanding of the principles, and it emphasizing the dynamic relationships between organisms and their environment. So it is more on deep and scientific understanding about the principles of nature or kind of the relationship between the organisms and the environment. So it involves more a specialized knowledge of ecological processes, so ecosystems and the web of interactions that sustain life on Earth. So for example, aning ecological literacy is the understanding of nutrient cycling, ecological succession, and the how to address or apply the complex environmental issues and what is the impact of different deforestation and specific species and ecosystem dynamics. So by understanding them, you are involved in ecological literacy. So I hope you understand their differences between these three. So to summarize everything, these three may these three may have similarities, but they have also a differences. So when we say environmental literacy, it involves the everyday actions for sustainable living. When we say ecoliteracy, it extends the understanding, the broader ecological connections, the relationships between the kanang humans and the nature. And also, when we say ecological literacy, it delves into scientific understanding or intricacies to analyze and solve the complex environmental issues or challenges. So those are the difference between the three. So now let's proceed the general conceptions of environment, the dominant educational objectives, and the primary pedagogical approaches. It is the third column, it is primary pedagogical approaches. So, sorry for that. And the fourth column contains examples of strategies that can be used in different literacies. So we will begin first in environmental literacy. So the general conceptions of the environmental literacy is the problem field of value. So what do we mean by the problem field of values? So when we say field of values, it refers to the range of perspectives, the beliefs, and the values that individuals hold regarding environmental issues. So it encompasses diverse attitudes towards the environment, including their views on conservation, the sustainability, and the relationship between humans and nature. So it involves understanding and respecting various perspectives to enhance the communication and collaboration in environmental initiatives. So that is all about the problem field of values. So dominant educational objectives under the environmental literacy develop a system of ethics, adopt environmentally responsible behavior. So when we say develop a system of ethics, adopt environmentally responsible behavior. So When we say develop a system of ethics, it is establishing an environmental ethic involves recognizing the interconnectedness of ecosystems and understanding the impact of human actions on the environment. So it includes fostering a sense of responsibility for sustainable practices and considering the long-term consequences of personal and societal choices. So it involves more on ethics and understanding the impact of human action on the environment. So that is all about develop a system of ethics. Next is adopt environmentally responsible behavior. So this means that integrating eco-friendly habits into daily life, such as reducing waste, conserving energy, and making sustainable consumer choices. So embracing a lifestyle that minimizes ecological footprints contributes to the overall well-being of the planet and promotes a more environmentally conscious society. So from the word itself, environmentally responsible behaviors, it engage or integrates a habits into daily life, actions into daily life. So that's the dominant educational objective. So the third one, the pedagogies, is the cognitive, the pragmatic, the affective or moral. And examples of strategies is case study, issue analysis, problem solving, project analysis, and clarification of values, criticism of social values. So those are the examples of strategies that can be used in environmental literacy. So now let's proceed to the second one, which is the ecological literacy. The general conceptions of environment of ecological literacy is object of study system. So we say object of study system is the interconnected system of living organisms and the environment. So ecological literacy, it focuses on understanding the relationships, the dynamics, and the dependencies within the ecosystem. So it includes knowledge about the biodiversity, ecological processes, and the impact of human activities on the environment. So developing ecological literacy, it involves gaining insights into how ecosystems function, the interdependence of species, and the ecological principles that govern the natural world. So this knowledge is essential for making informed decisions and fostering sustainable practices in relation to the environment. So this is all about the object of study system and ecological literacy. So the dominant objectives of ecological literacy is to acquire knowledge of ecological concepts and principles. So and also understand environmental realities in view of informed decision making. So when we say acquire knowledge of ecological concepts and principles, this involves understanding the fundamental principles that governs the ecosystems. It includes the concepts like biodiversity, the ecological succession, and the nutrient cycling. So a solid understanding of these principles provides the foundation for comprehending the intricate relationships with natural environments. And also in also in realities in view of this informed decision making, it involves considering the ecological, the social, and economic implications of choices. So understanding environmental realities allows individuals to make decisions that are broader impact on ecosystems, so fostering sustainable practices and contributing to responsible stewardship of the environment. So that's understand environmental realities in view of informed decision making. So those are the dominant objectives under the ecological literacy. So the pedagogies is cognitive and experiential, and the examples of strategies is observation, demonstration, experimentation. So case study, environmental system analysis, construction of ecosystem models. So those are examples of the strategies that can be used in ecological literacy. So the third one is ecoliteracy. So the general conceptions of ecoliteracy is shared resource for sustainable living Gaia. So when we talk about the shared resource for sustainable living Gaia, it is so Gaia DI is associated with the Earth as a living interconnected system. So of course, from the word itself, shared resource, so those are resources that can be shared for embracing Gaia principles that includes the educational platforms, the community initiatives, and the collaborative projects focused on environmental awareness. And also, it can be shared by online platforms, local community organizations, and educational institutions that provide resources for individuals interested in adopting more sustainable lifestyles inspired by the interconnectedness of the Earth system. So, for example, educational websites, platforms like Gaia Education or other ecoliteracy focused websites that offers courses, articles, and resources on sustainable living practices. So another is community gardens. So example of other resources, community gardens that provides hands-on experience and knowledge in the local community. Another, workshops and events. So learners can participate in workshops, seminars, or events organized by environmental organizations or ecological literacy groups. So those are the examples of the shared resource for sustainable living Gaia. So the dominant objectives of the kanang ecolatercy is to promote and contribute to economic development that addresses social equity and ecological sustainability. So this involves advocating for and actively participating in economic practices that prioritize both social equity and ecological sustainability. So it includes supporting initiatives that consider well-being of the communities, promote fair distribution of resources, and minimize negative impacts on the environment, fostering a more sustainable and inclusive economic model. So that is the about they promote and contribute to economic development that addresses social equity and ecological sustainability. So the pedagogies could be cognitive, pragmatic, holistic, intuitive, or creative. And the examples of strategies under the ecoliteracy, it can be case study, social marketing, consumption activities, sustainable living management project, immersion, visualization, creative workshops. So those are example strategies that can be used in eco-literacy. So I guess that's all about my report. Thank you for listening. I hope you understand my report.
So now let's continue to my assigned topic. So my assigned topic is all about greening initiatives in colleges and universities. So greening initiatives, it is an activities that will form a green habits in students which they can learn or continue even after they complete their studies. So greening initiatives in colleges and universities increases awareness and environmental degradation and concern for its rehabilitation have prompted colleges and universities to green their campuses. A green campus is a place where environmentally responsible practice and education go hand in hand, and where environmentally responsible tenets are borne out by example. NEIWPCC. Um, so greening initiatives in colleges and universities, it can also provide, or it can also help to increase the awareness of environmental degradations and concerns, especially in colleges and universities. In order to have a green campuses and also a green campus, the students have a safe and a place where they can be comfortable with. So for the continuation, so the Green Campus Institution is a model environmental community where operational functions, so business practices, academic programs, and people are interlinked, providing educational and practical value to institution, the region, and the world. So the Green Initiatives is a it has a green campus institution, an organization which can be a model to environmental community to operate functions in such business practices in such areas, just like business practices, academic group programs, and people that are may interlinked. Then provide educational and practical value to institution, not just to the region, not just for the region locally, but even to the world. So even though or although greening initiative is challenging and demanding, yield the significant benefits in the long run. Bisan tuod demanding, challenging dahan kay proseso before makuha ang nindot nga resulta, pero ang benefits kay magapadayon. So the first significant benefits of green initiatives is the environmental and economic sustainability. So a system-wide culture of sustainability helps preserve and enhance what the institution values today as well as for the future. So when we say environmental sustainability, it is a process of meeting the needs of air, food, water, and shelter, as well as the ensuring that the environment is neither affected nor polluted. And when we say economic sustainability, it is about giving people what they want without compromising the quality of life, especially in developing the world. So, of course, the main purpose of environmental and economic sustainability is to enhance what their institution values for today as even or as well as for the future. Then the second significant benefits of green initiatives in the long run is the reputation as a leader through example. So, as colleges and universities offer courses in environmental management, engineering, laws and regulations, and assessment, greening initiatives provide them opportunities to practice what they preach and make their mark as environmental leaders. Colleges and universities need to examine their own organizations and implement on their own campuses what they and public expect their industry to do. So, of course, in doing or in dealing this kind of green initiatives, you as a leader, you are a good example to not just implement the curriculum, but also doing it by action. And also, it can enhance the good reputation for you as a good example or as a leader. And down to the next uh, benefits or significant benefits of green initiatives in the long run is the economic benefits. A routine curriculum-based environment audit program that reveals waste and inefficiency associated with campus activities, coupled with the identification of environment-friendly alternatives, can yield significant cost savings for the institution. So, economic benefits are usually gains that can be expressed in financial terms as the results of an improvement in facilities provided by a government, local authority, or etc. So, economic benefits, it is environment friendly alternatives that can yield significant cost savings for the institution. So down to the fourth significant benefit of green initiatives in the long run is the real life or the work experience for your students. So environmental audits and pollution prevention evaluations can be integrated into the curriculum, providing students with hands-on investigate and problem-solving experience that they can take with them when they are enter the workforce. A green campus is a cleaner, safer, and healthier place to live and work. Of course, the students cannot learn without an experience. So learning by doing. So you as a teacher, you must find any activities that can give the students a critical thinking to solve a problem or to find ways, especially in a scenario, in a situations, so that the students can be ready, especially kung magtrabaho na siya. So gamit kaayo sa students na nga pamaagi aron dili na sila mamahimo nga ignorante o ingon usab dili na sila mamahimo nga giingon nga kanang walay nakamahuan. It's because sa pag-study pa lang nila gitudluan na sila sa ilahang teachers nga mamahimo nga maka hands-on or maka-demonstrate sa ilahang kaugalingon nga pamaagi. So, of course, kung magtrabaho ang bata sa Green Campus, so, dito, safer, cleaner, and healthier ang mga bata sa diin sila magahimo o magatuon o makakaton sa ilahang kinabuhi. So, that's it. So to continue in school, the teachers are required to shift the emphasis through the following. So ecological literacy is a form of transformative education that requires shifts at three related areas. So these three related areas is the perception that derives from the word seeing, conception derives from the word knowing, and third is action, where it derives from the word doing. So here, the first one is from parts to whole. So subjects are to be thought as integrated, not as isolated units in the curriculum. So when we say parts, from parts to whole, it is with any system. The whole is different from the sum of the individual parts. By shifting focus from the parts to the whole, we can better grasp the connection between the different elements. So the third one is from objects to relationships. So it's stated there that an ecosystem is a community. Communities are characterized by sets, networks, or relationships. So schools put premium on relationships-based processes such as cooperation, collaboration, and decision-making consensus. So from objects to relationship, in a systems, the relationship between the individual parts may be more important than the part. So, for an instant, an ecosystem is not just a collection of species, but includes living, interacting with each other, and their non-living environment. So, in the system's view, the objects of the study are networks of relationships in the schools or classroom. This perspective emphasizes relationship-based process, such as cooperation and consensus. So, from objects to relationship. From it is the perspective of, or emphasizes the relationship-based process such as cooperation and consensus. So the fourth one is from objective knowledge to contextual knowledge. So it's stated there that knowledge to contextual knowledge, this shifts requires one to explain properties of the parts within the context of the whole or in terms of environments and systems. So shifting focus from the parts to the whole implies shifting from analytical thinking to contextual thinking. So these shifts may result in schools focusing on project-based learning instead of perspective curricula. So it also encourages teachers to be facilitators and fellow learners alongside students rather than experts dispensing knowledge. So from analytical thinking to contextual thinking. So down to the last one, from quantity to quality assessments, it's stated here that have traditionally emphasized standardized testing in terms of quantities, numeric scores, and measurements. So schools are challenged to design assessment more adequate than the standardized tests if they are to practice this principle. So from quantity to quality, in Western science, they are often focused on things that can be measured and quantified. So it has sometimes been implied that phenomena that can be measured and quantified are more important. So, and perhaps even that what cannot be measured and quantified doesn't exist at all. So some aspect of systems, however, like the relationships in the food web, we cannot measure it. Rather, they must be mapped. So in the classroom, this shift can lead to comprehensive forms of tests rather than standardized tests.
So to continue, we have from structure to process. Systems are dynamic and evolving, thus the understanding of living structures is linked to understanding renewal, change, and transformation. Imagine you're building a sandcastle on the beach, and the sandcastle structure is like the way things are arranged, like the walls and the towers you built. And now think of the process as the dynamic and ongoing activity of building and shaping the castle. So in the same way, like the system or like the organizations or projects are always changing and evolving. Like kanang the understanding how things are structured, like the plan or ang plan or ang pag-design is important, but it's equally crucial grasp the how things change and improve over time. So this idea is captured in project-based learning, and where you learn by doing real projects. It's like not just knowing how to build sandcastle, but actually building and adapting it as you go, learning and improving along the way. So it's not just about having a fixed structure, but also understanding and embracing the process of change and improvement. So next we have the from contents to patterns. So when we draw maps and relationships, we discover certain configurations of relationships that appear again and again. From pedagogically, the shift remind us of the importance of integrating art into programs of study. This enables children, even at young age, to recognize and express patterns, whether we talk about poetry, literature, visual arts, performing arts, and music. So again, if you imagine you're looking at a bunch of puzzle pieces, instead of thinking about each piece by itself, you notice that kanang some of the pieces fit together in certain ways to create a bigger picture. So these repeated ways of fitting together are like patterns. Similarly, when we study living systems, kanang ecosystems or communities, instead of just focusing on what kanang individual things are made of, why not kanang we look at the kanang recurring patterns in how they relate to each other. So this shift is like paying attention to how puzzle pieces connect. So just like in kanang teaching, it's a bit like saying we should include art and learning. This way, kanang even young kids can learn to recognize and express patterns not just in traditional subjects, but also in things like poetry, literature, visual arts, performing arts, and music. So it's about seeing the bigger picture and how things connect, just like puzzle pieces fitting together to create a complete image. Okay, so next we have the verify vital practices that integrate emotional, social, and ecological intelligence. These practices allow students to strengthen and extend their capacity to live sustainably. These are the following. First, we have the developing empathy for all forms of life. Encourages students to expand their sense of compassion to other forms of life. So imagine you have a big family photo and the traditional mindset. It's like kanang thinking only certain family members are important, but in this new way of thinking, it's like realizing that everyone in the kanang photo matters, not just a select few. Pili lang kay pili lang. Similarly, in the way we usually think about the world, humans are often seen as separate and more important than everything else. So, um, this new perspective suggests that we're all part of a big family of life on Earth. Diba? So instead of caring only about ourselves, we start caring about the whole family of living things, like plants and animals. It's like expanding our circle of care to include anyone in the family photo of life on Earth. So next we have the embracing sustainability as community practices emerge from knowing that organisms do not exist in isolation. So think of the world like a giant team where plants, animals, and all living things are players. And this team, the better the players work together, the more successful the team becomes, di ba? So, if magtinabangay jud, mas kanang okay jud ang team. Like, now, kanang, imagine, you're part of a smaller team ha, like your community. The relationships and connections between people in your community are like the teamwork in our big team of life. Imagine. So the better we all get along and help each other, the better our community can do. So embracing sustainability means understanding that all living things are connected, just like players in a team. By learning about these connections, kita as students, we can realize the importance of working together in our community. It's like saying na kanang, ah, hey, we're all in this together, and the better we cooperate, the better our community can survive and thrive. Diba? Okay, so the third, we have the making the invisible visible as students and recognizing the myriad effects of human behavior and other people and the environment. So think of the things we do, like using energy or making stuff. The effects of these actions are like invisible superpowers. They're there, but we cannot always see or understand them fully. Now, imagine we have kaning special glasses or tools ba, like that make this invisible effects visible. With these glasses, we can see how we do affects other people and world around us. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. So the point is manjud by using tools to make these hidden impacts visible, we can better understand the consequences of our actions. Truly, this understanding helps us make better choices that are good for people and the environment. Mura siya ganit. It's like having a superpower to see the results of what we do on what we act and in ways that are positive and life affirming. So next we have for the fourth, anticipating unintended consequences is a twofold challenge of predicting the potential implications of our behaviors as best we can, while at the same time accepting that we cannot foresee all possible cause and effect associations. So imagine you're playing with a set of dominoes and you set them up in a line, but you can predict exactly how they'll fall because it's a bit unpredictable. So in life, our actions are a bit like setting up those dominoes. Are our best to see how things might play out, but there are surprises we cannot predict. And so when we want to make life better for everyone, students us can use two important ideas. So first, we can think like detectives and try to predict the possible outcomes of what they do, or using systems thinking that precautionary principle. Murag siya kanang trying to see where the dominoes might fall. But because we cannot predict everything, so the second idea is to be ready for surprises. It's like making sure The dominoes won't cause too much trouble if they fall unexpectedly. This way, we're working to protect and strengthen the big picture of life, even when we can't predict all the details. Okay, so lastly, we have the understanding how nature sustains life is imperative for students to cultivate a society that takes into account future generations and other forms of life. So think of nature like a wise teacher. It has been keeping life going on Earth for a really, really long time, a billions of years. And so when students want to build a good society that thinks about the future and cares for all living things, it's like asking nature for advice. Nature has all these cool strategies that have worked for ages, and we can learn from them. It's a bit like having a mentor. By looking at how nature does things, we students can figure out smart ways to design our own projects and activities. It's like saying, uh, hey nature, you've been at this life thing for a while. What can we learn from you to make sure we're doing things right for the long run? It's about kanang it's about getting tips from the Earth's playbook for a sustainable and thriving future. And uh, another example. So imagine you're in a really good team, and this team has been winning games for a super long time, a very long time, like forever. And you'd probably want to know the secrets on of their success, right? So nature is like that super successful team. It's been keeping life going strong on Earth for billions of years. So when we want to create a good society that thinks about the future and takes care of all living things, we can look at how nature does things. So if magplant ka og trees, well, to survive just nature. So I mean, it's like asking the successful team, hey, how do you do it? What strategies make you awesome? So by understanding how nature sustains life, we can borrow some of its winning strategies for our own team, our community, and the world. It's like getting tips from the ultimate champions of life, and that is nature. That's all, ma'am. Thank you.